Blog Talk Radio.
To honor America with the performance of the national anthem, 8-time Grammy Award winner, Chris Stapleton.
Oh, sing, can you see by the dawn's early light? Oh, proudly we hailed at the twilight that's gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. Oh, the ramparts we were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets regular of our birds singing their
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the Medlock Post radio show. This is where we educate, entertain, enlighten, and empower. The views and opinions on the Medlock Post radio show are those of the host and guests. They are not necessarily the views and opinions of Blog Talk Radio, Spreaker.com, its corporations, affiliates, or any other podcast streaming services. And here is your host, Richard G. Medlock.
I do this real morone thing, and it's called thinking. And apparently I'm not a very good American because I like to form my own opinions. George Carlin, folks. Yeah, all right. Think for yourself. That's why we're here at the Medlock Post, is to help you to think, to ask questions, to delve. Now, I've got a request. It's not on the script. I'm adding this real quick. I played in the last episode, this good old American. Several people said, I've never heard that. Will you play it again? So here it is.
Oh, I'm a good old American, now that's just what I am. And for the liberal nation, I do not give a damn. Don't want to rise against her, but I'll gather up my guns. My freedom won't be taken, I'll fight 'em till I've won. I hate a liberal nation and everything they do. I hate the social programs and stimulus bill too. I hate the federal government stripping away our rights. I hate all socialism, time for states to fight. I was born here in this nation, lived here all my life. I love my founding fathers and share their view of rights. Working men and women rather die poor and free, 'cause we know what freedom stands for, no Denny states for me. No universal health care or fairness doctrine touts. We like free market systems, to hell with these bailouts. For all the politicians who think revolt won't brew, if you take away my freedom, my votes won't be for you. No longer will I whisper, this land should be free. I'll voice my opinions, my kids will sure thank me. I don't want no pardons for what I say and am. Obama won't remake me, and I do not give a damn. Oh, I'm a good American, now that's just what I am. And for a liberal nation, I do not give a damn. Don't want to rise against her, but I'll gather up my guns. My freedom won't be taken, I'll fight 'em till I've won. And I don't want any pardon for what I say and am.
All right, good old American. That was from my previous radio show during the Obama period, and it was pretty popular then, and we're bringing it back. You can't find some of these sound bites that I play from back then. Of course, I saved them all in files. You cannot find them out there anymore. They're gone. Like the one, We the People, they're gone. All right, welcome to the Medlock Post Radio Show, ladies and gentlemen. This is Richard Medlock, your host, and our program today on episode 113 on this beautiful February 16th, 2023, is a solemn patriotism. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, a solemn patriotism. Yesterday was one of those days that nothing clicked. No matter what I tried to put together, nothing clicked. And about between 7 and 7:30 last night, I was sitting there talking with my wife and my son, and my son made a comment that clicked, talking about America. And it clicked. Patriotism. So today's show is about patriotism. Some really good quotes, some sound bites, and patriotism. And another thing that prompted this last night, and this is part of that conversation, and that's what my son said. He said, "Well, remember the Star Spangled Banner by Chris Stapleton at the Super Bowl." Now, we didn't watch it, but I watched videos of this. And that's what clicked it, folks. And I said, yeah, the crowd was going nuts. And at the end, when he went to Brave, they were saying Brave before he was. I mean, they went nuts during the program or during his song, our song, the Star Spangled Banner. And that's what's prompted this. So I went to a bunch of quotes I've got and a bunch of written things, and we're going to go through as many of those we can today to help you understand. But first, yes, I got to start with Biden. He is still out there screaming and yelling, and Hakeem Jeffries and all the other Democratic Marxists are still out there screaming and yelling, along with the media, that the Republicans are going to cut Social Security and Medicare. That's a lie. I've already told you that in the budget that they signed right before Christmas last year, that in that they took $300 billion from Medicare and gave it to green energy. Okay, so that's a cut that they did. All right, so there's an irony here of his big lie about Republicans. So Joe Biden shamelessly lied to the American people about the priorities of the House Republican Congress. His sorry accusations, while entirely predictable, can't be farther from the truth. And our commitment to America, which the Republicans put together prior to the election, House Republicans pledged that we will protect and strengthen Social Security and Medicare so that our seniors can retire with dignity and live long, healthy lives. Ironically, the only person who has approved steep cuts to Medicare this year, in 2023, Joe Biden. Yeah. And he's doing this without Congress. That's the sad thing. According to a notice from the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, the Biden administration has proposed an average 2.3% payment cut to Medicare Advantage, which would slash more than $4.7 billion from this vital program that serves over 30 million American seniors. This reckless decision would force insurance companies to suspend coverage for millions of Medicare Advantage beneficiaries and withdraw from the marketplace altogether, inevitably increasing premiums, out-of-pocket costs, and deductibles. The basic laws of economic theory posit that fewer choices result in higher cost. The healthcare ecosystem is no different. By increasing operational costs for health insurers, our seniors will suffer from subpar care, endure long wait times, and perhaps even lose their favorite doctor. A scary preview of the ills of socialized health care. Remember, Obama stood there. If you like your doctor, you can keep it. If you like your health insurance, you can keep it. And that was all a big lie. However, President Biden's overt cuts to Medicare are not the only threats facing our seniors. Willfully ignorant to the ramifications of his wasteful agenda, he flooded our economy with $6 trillion in new government spending that fueled record inflation and sharply increased spending on Social Security, an adjustment our seniors absolutely need in this poor economy. Now, our Medicare and Social Security trust funds face insolvency far earlier than originally projected. So, Mr. O'Biden, go out there and lie all you want. Nobody believes you. John Adams, in his inaugural address, gives national pride such a grand term of justification that every honest citizen must look back upon the infancy of the United States with an approving smile and rejoice that patriotism in the rulers, virtue in the people, and prosperity in the Union once crowned the expectations of hope, unveiled the sophistry of the hypocrite, and silenced the folly of foes. John Adams said, quote, "If national pride is ever justifiable or excusable, it is when it springs not from power or riches, grandeur or glory, but from conviction of national innocence, information, and benevolence," unquote. There is no doubt such was actually the case with our young realm at the close of the last century. Peace, prosperity, and union filled the country with religious toleration, temporal enjoyment, and virtuous enterprise, and gradually, too, when the deadly winter of the Stamp Act and Tea Act and other close communion act of royalty had choked the growth of freedom of speech, liberty of the press, and liberty of conscience, did light, liberty, and loyalty flourish like the cedars of God. Joseph Smith, 1844. A great destiny lies before the United States. The question is, this is John Taylor, the question is she competent for the task? She has outridden the fiery test of revolution, hurled defiance at the despot's power, and grasped the scepter of liberty with a nervous, powerful grip. She has, out of the chaotic, confused mass of material associated with corrupt governments, organized a system of government and framed a constitution that, while it is honorable to its founders, guarantees to all the fullest extent. Liberté, égalité, fraternité. Liberty here is more than a name. Here, man is free to speak, free to think, free to write, free to act, free to do good. The very genius of our Constitution and institutions is freedom. John Taylor, 1855. This is patriotism. I'm laying the foundation here to help you to understand this. All right. This is from July 1912. Patriotism should be sought for and will be found in right living, not in high-sounding praises or words. True patriotism is part of the solemn obligation that belongs both to the nation and to the individual and to the home. Our nation's reputation should be guarded as sacredly as our family's good name. Let me read that again. Our nation's reputation should be guarded as sacredly as our family's good name. That reputation should be defended by every citizen, and our children should be taught to defend their country's honor under all circumstances. A truly patriotic spirit in the individual begets a public interest and sympathy which should be commensurate with our nation's greatness. To be a true citizen of a great country takes nothing from, but adds to individual greatness. While a great and good people necessarily adds greatness and goodness to national life, the nation's greatness reacts upon its citizens and adds honor to them and ensures their welfare and happiness. Our national welfare should always be a theme deeply rooted in our minds and exemplified in our individual lives. And the desire for our nation's good should be stronger than political party adherence. The nation's welfare means the welfare of every one of its citizens. To be a worthy and a prosperous nation, it must possess those qualities which belong to individual virtues. The attitude of our country toward our nation should always be honest and above suspicion, and every good citizen should be jealous of our nation's reputation both at home and abroad. National patriotism is, therefore, something more than mere expression of willingness to fight if need be. We talked about the colonists, before they could declare independence, felt that their personal and public virtue needed to be on a more sound foundation. And it took them over 3 years, with support from each other, the founding fathers and other leaders and just other individuals and within their families, to get to a comfort level that they felt like if they were a free people, that they could be self-governing. So when we talk about individual virtue, part of that is about being a self-governed person. That you can live your life within the rules, the laws, natural law, man's laws, God's laws, and walk a straight path. And part of that, as being a citizen of the United States, is patriotism. And that's what we're being taught here. Patriotism is part of our virtue. George Washington said, "Guard against the impostors of pretended patriotism." Now, that's a profound statement from George Washington. And we've seen it throughout this country this faux pas patriotism, and we're seeing it today all over the place, to get what they want, not what's best for the nation, but what that individual that's posing this faux pas patriotism wants for their personal gain. This is Heber J. Grant in 1924. I know you thought, well, geez, that was 100 years ago, more than 100 years. Listen, folks, truth is truth, and it's eternal. Heber J. Grant said this: I pray for the people of the world, not only for Americans, but I pray God's blessings upon every loyal, patriotic man and woman that is endeavoring to do right and to uphold the laws of the country where they reside. He's talking all over the world here. I pray God's blessing upon the President of these United States of America. At that time, it was Calvin Coolidge. And he was trying to do the right thing, cut taxes, cut spending, etc. Back to Heber J. Grant. I thank God that we believe that the Constitution of our country was given to us under the inspiration of the living God, and that the Lord supported George Washington and the patriot fathers of this country. I pray that God will inspire us to continue loyal and true to Him, God, to our country, and to its institutions, and that we may in very deed preach the gospel of Jesus Christ by our acts, that as we grow in years and increase in understanding, we may grow in the power and ability to live the gospel better, that our example of integrity, of honesty, of loyalty to God and country may inspire others to investigate this great message of freedom and independence. Now, and I'm going to add, living your religion, no matter what it is, are loyal to our God. Our country comes next, then our family. Actually, I put family second and then country third. Mark Twain said, loyalty to country always, loyalty to government when it deserves it. And folks, right now, that's a big question if they deserve it or not, right? But loyalty to government, loyalty to country always. Theodore Roosevelt said this. He did. Patriotism means to stand by the country. It does not mean to stand by the president or any other public official, save exactly to the degree in which he himself stands by the country. Now we can say he or she. It is patriotic to support him insofar as he efficiently serves the country. It is unpatriotic not to oppose him to the exact extent that by inefficiency or otherwise he fails in his duty to stand by the country. In either event, it is unpatriotic not to tell the truth, whether about the president or anyone else. Theodore Roosevelt. You get that? Yeah. It is patriotic to support him insofar as he efficiently serves the country. It is unpatriotic not to oppose him to the extent. So, and then he says, it is unpatriotic not to tell the truth. We talked about that a couple of shows ago, well, last week, when we talked about lying, the morality of lying and the principle of lying. And here's Theodore Roosevelt telling us it's unpatriotic not to tell the truth. When we try to do that on the Medlock post. But there's a lot of people out there that don't want to tell the truth. We referred to one at the beginning of the show. Let's listen to John Wayne.
What makes the word America ring with the sound that brightens the air? It's people, her people who have done their own thing with blood, sweat, and tears and a prayer.
Louis Armstrong on a golden trumpet, Marian Anderson singing the Lord's Prayer, the savage power of Jack Dempsey, and the quiet pride of Jesse Owens, Merle Haggard singing Okie from Muskogee, Chet Atkins picking the guitar, Bing Crosby at Christmas time, and Charles Lindbergh crossing the Atlantic alone.
A sharecropper's son, an immigrant boy, a hobo who rode on the rails, the magic guitar of an old country boy, a lone eagle who pioneered trade.
Sandy Koufax staring down at a batter while Willie Mays chants his "Say Hey." Maria Tallchief riding in Swan Lake while Fred Astaire dances on gossamer wings. Billy Graham bringing God to millions. And Jonas Salk bringing hope to the world. Mahalia Jackson closing her eyes in devotion. And Johnny Cash singing at the White House.
What makes the word America ring with the sound that brightens the air? It's people, her people who have done their own thing with blood, sweat, and tears and a prayer.
Willie Shoemaker booting swaps home, while Eddie Arcaro wins the Triple Crown on citation. Arnie Palmer winning the Open, while Eddie Arnold is winning hearts. Tom Harmon threading the field for Michigan, while Bob Morrison plays his heart out for Troy. Kate Smith singing God Bless America, and Irving Berlin who wrote it. Then there are those unheralded, whose dedication to our country is strong and true. The builders of America, those who make her factories hum, the loggers of her great forests, the men who labor deep in her mines, and the man who works with his hands, the farmer who toils from dawn to dusk, those who carry her bountiful yield to all the states of our Union, the railroaders, our merchant sailors, the airline pilots, and those modern knights of the road, the truck drivers. These and others like them have earned their right to walk proudly with the knowledge that their goals were achieved through honest toil and in the spirit of harmony found in the people working together in this great land.
What makes the word America ring with the sound that brightens the air?
It's people, her people, who have done their own thing with blood, sweat, and tears and a prayer.
We the people, we make America. We made America. The Constitution, it was there. The Declaration of Independence were there. It provided the basis for which freedom was unleashed and the American spirit was unleashed, and America became the greatest nation on earth. And there are people today wanting to tear it down, and we're not going to let them. This is from Thomas Jefferson. It's from the letters of Thomas Jefferson. The people cannot be all and always well informed. The part which is wrong will be discontented in proportion to the importance of the facts they misconceive. If they remain quiet under such misconceptions, it is lethargy, the forerunner of death to the public liberty. What country before ever existed a century and a half without a rebellion? And what country can preserve its liberties if their rulers are not warned from time to time that their people preserve the spirit of resistance? Let them take arms. The remedy is to set them right as to facts, pardon and pacify them. What signify a few lives lost in a century or two? The tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants. It is its natural manure. Oh, that sounds kind of harsh, doesn't it? But it's bold. Will it take blood to straighten out this country? We're already seeing that in the streets. We're seeing it. I mean, look what they're doing to police officers. They're setting up traps. They call 911, and it's a trap, and they go out there, and they get shot. That's blood in the street, folks. BLM, Antifa, gangs, drug lords, drug dealers, sex trafficking. But you don't see the media talking about that, do you? It's that misconception, things that are being misconceived to fool Americans. And we've got to overcome that. David O. McKay said this, hang on a second. Move this up. I got to move this up here and find this. So, okay, I'm there. No, I'm not. There it is. As precious as life itself is our heritage of individual freedom, for man's free agency is a God-given gift. In sensing our responsibility to preserve it for ourselves and our posterity, let students and patriotic people ever keep in mind the warning voice of James Russell Lowell proclaiming, quote, "Our American Republic will endure only as long as the ideas of the men who founded it continue dominant," unquote. There is a crying need today to have this truth heralded throughout the land, that youth especially may appreciate and hold the freedom of the individual as sacred as did our revolutionary fathers. Into the soul of every student, I would have instilled the patriotic fervor of Patrick Henry. Quote, "Were my soul trembling on the wing of eternity, were this hand freezing to death, were my voice choking with the last struggle, I would still, with the last gasp of that voice, implore you to remember the truth. God has given America to be free," unquote. Already there are insidious influences working termite-like to destroy this basic principle of true democracy. David O. McKay. Working termite-like. Remember, you don't see termites, do you? Until the damage is done. That's a great phrase that maybe I need to remember that. Remember that one. Insidious influences working termite-like to destroy this basic principle of true democracy. Now, this was over 70 years ago when this was written. We do have challenges. We do have battles. We're being attacked from within. From within, ladies and gentlemen. And we've got to keep standing up, speaking up, and doing things. You know, go to the school boards, go to your county meetings, go to your city council meetings. Let them know that you're out there listening and watching to what they're doing. Don't let them get away with this stuff. Yeah, we can vote them out of office, but if you're not out there speaking and telling them, being that patriotic citizen, and say what you're doing is wrong, you need to correct this, and if they don't correct it, you vote them out. But again, if you're not up there, the next people, they'll just keep on doing the same old thing because they know they can get away with it. But we don't want them to. Harold B. Lee, men may fail in this country. Earthquakes may come. Seas may heave beyond their bounds. There may be great drought, disaster, and hardship. But this nation, founded on principles laid down by men whom God raised up, will never fail. This is a place that the Lord said is favored above all other nations in all the world. This is the favored land in all the world. Yes, I repeat, men may fail, but this nation won't fail. I have faith in America. You and I must have faith in America. We are living in a day when we must pay heed to these challenges. I plead with you not to preach pessimism. Preach that this is the greatest country in all the world, that it is a favored land. This is the land of our forefathers. It is the nation that will stand despite whatever trials or crises it may yet have to pass through. We need this attitude. America will never fail because we, the people, will make sure it doesn't. The government is going to go kaput. They're trying that now and doing pretty successful with it. Later on in this speech, Harold B. Lee said this: "May I voice a plea for all Americans to love this country with a fervor that will inspire each to so live as to merit the favor of the Almighty during this time of grave uncertainties." Now, this was during World War II. What's changed, folks? We're still at war. As well in times to come, as in times to come. I would that all men could believe in the destiny of America as did the early pioneers, that the founders of this nation were men of inspired vision, that the Constitution as written by the inspiration of heaven must be preserved at all cost. I make a further plea that the citizens of this favored land live righteously, that they might enjoy the fruits of their righteousness in this land of promise. May you comprehend that to be truly patriotic in this land, made sacred by Almighty God, who has consecrated this land to be a land of promise, you must live accordingly to just and holy principles. You must in very deed live the good life. Harold B. Lee.
Isn't it once again time to renew our compact of freedom? To pledge to each other, all that is best in our lives, all that gives meaning to them, for the sake of this our beloved and blessed land. Together, let us make this a new beginning. Let us make a commitment to care for the needy, to teach our children the virtues handed down to us by our families, to have the courage to defend those values and virtues and the willingness to sacrifice for them. Let us pledge to restore in our time the American spirit of voluntary service, of cooperation, of private and community initiative, a spirit that flows like a deep and mighty river through the history of our nation.
Powerful words from Ronald Reagan. Powerful words. His 1980 address that was part of it, to the GOP convention after he was inaugurated. Howard W. Hunter said this: No, excuse me, I'll get to that. Winston Churchill said this: "A love of tradition has never weakened a nation. Indeed, it has strengthened nations in their hour of peril." A love of tradition strengthens nations. Why do you think the democratic Marxists want to do away with history and teaching it of how great this nation really is, of what the founding fathers did, what the colonists did, what Abraham Lincoln did to save the Union during the Civil War? They don't want those traditions known. They're taking down statues. John F. Kennedy asked the question, "Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country." Well, that's totally flip-flopped. No, what can I do for the country? What can I do as a citizen, as a family, as a business owner, as a minister to help this country? Adlai Stevenson: "Patriotism is not short, frenzied outbursts of emotion, but the tranquil and steady dedication of a lifetime." Just like your religion. Your love for country should be steady and unwavering. Now to Howard W. Hunter. "Time for America to decree that no longer shall this terrible waste of our inner strength be allowed to blight our greatness as a nation. We should slightly, powerfully, and purposefully determine that no silent hammers of decay shall beat our civilization into dust. We should, with promptness and firmness, decide that the termites," here's that word again, "termites of juvenile delinquency and crime shall not eat into the material and spiritual foundations of our country. To continue to permit forces of disintegration to sap our material and spiritual culture of its strength is to stand idly by and watch our civilization become one of Nineveh and Tyre." From the Bible, folks. "A nation is not made great by its fruitful acres, its great forest, and its rich mineral deposits, but by men who cultivate the farms, fell the trees, and operate the mines. That nation is greatest which produces the largest number of men dedicated to the loftiest ideas of the human race." Howard W. Hunter. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why the Medlock Post is here, to educate, to enlighten, to empower you. Don't be intimidated by the falsehoods that are being told out there. We're not going to let it happen. We're not. We're bigger than that. We're braver than that. So don't let it happen. Today we live in a land choice above all other lands. We live amid unbounded prosperity. This because of the heritage bequeathed to us by our forebearers, a heritage of self-reliance, initiative, personal industry, and faith in God, all in an atmosphere of freedom. Were these founding fathers and pioneer forefathers to counsel us today in their fundamental beliefs, so manifest by their acts, what do you think they would tell us today? Well, let's take a look at this. First, counsel us to have faith in God. It was by this faith that they were sustained in their privations, sacrifices, and suffering. They placed their trust in God. He was their defense, their refuge, and their salvation. Their faith Their faith is perhaps best expressed by the father of our country, George Washington. Quote, "The success which has hitherto attended our united efforts we owe to the gracious interposition of heaven, and to that interposition let us gratefully ascribe the praise of victory and the blessings of peace." Unquote. Yes, it was this faith in God that sustained them in their hours of extremity. We too will need this same faith to sustain us in the critical days ahead. Ladies and gentlemen, we're starting to see in the United States more and more people turn to God, return to church, or start going to church. There's kind of a small wave right now, and I think it's going to build. Second, they would counsel us to strengthen our homes and family ties. Though they did not possess our physical comforts, they left their posterity a legacy of something more enduring. A hearthside where parents were close by their children, where daily devotions, family prayer, scripture reading, and the singing of hymns were commonplace. Families worked, worshiped, played, and prayed together. Families did everything together. Can we not see in their examples the solutions to problems threatening families today? Were we to pattern our homes accordingly, divorce would be eliminated, children would be welcomed and guided, and love between parents and children would abound. There would be no generational gap. Family unity and solidarity, crowned with love and happiness, would prevail. You see this? No divorce. Children would be welcomed, not the other thing. The third advice we'd probably receive: counsel us in the dignity of work, to practice thrift, and to be self-sustaining. Theirs was a philosophy that neither the world nor government owes a man his bread. Man is commanded by God to live by the sweat of his own brow, not someone else's. In his first inaugural address, Thomas Jefferson counseled us toward a wise and frugal government, one that shall, quote, shall not take from the mouth of labor the bread it had earned, unquote. The founding fathers would be in complete agreement when this quote, with this attitude: beautify your gardens, your houses, your farms, beautify the city. This will make us happy and produce plenty. To be slothful, wasteful, lazy, and indolent is unrighteous. Learn to sustain yourselves. Lay up grain and flour, and save it against a day of scarcity. If you cannot obtain all you wish for today, learn to do without. Be prompt in everything, and especially to pay your debts. Wow. I might have to do a whole show on that. Finally, these noble founders and pioneers, our benefactors, would counsel us to preserve the freedoms granted to us by God, to protect them, not to give them away. They knew that the foundation of this nation was spiritual, that the source of all our blessings was God. They knew that this nation can only prosper in an atmosphere of freedom. These intrepid forebears knew that their righteousness was the indispensable ingredient to liberty, that this was the greatest legacy they could pass on to future generations. They would counsel us to preserve this liberty by alert righteousness. Righteousness is always measured by a nation or an individual keeping the commandments of God. Yeah. And if some of you think, well, no, we're beyond that. It's too bad. I disagree. Things can turn around, folks. If you look at the glass and it's half empty, that also means you can pour more into it. The signers fulfilled their pledge. Their spirit of sacrifice was exemplified by John Adams, who, when others were vacillating on whether to adopt the Declaration, declared, quote, "Sink or swim, live or die, survive or perish. I give my hand and my heart to this vote. It is true, indeed, that in the beginning we aim not at independence, but there is a divinity which shapes our ends. Why, then, should we defer the Declaration? You and I, indeed, may rue it. We may not live to the time when this Declaration shall be made good. We may die colonists, die slaves, die, it may be ignominiously, on the scaffold. Be it so, be it so. If it be the pleasure of heaven that my country shall require the poor offering of my life, the victim shall be ready. But while I do live, let me have a country, or at least the hope of a country, that a free country." Continuing, John Adams. But whatever may be our fate, be assured that this declaration will stand. It may cost treasure, and it may cost blood, but it will stand, and it will richly compensate for both. Through the thick gloom of the present, I see the brightness of the future as the sun in heaven. We shall make this a glorious and immortal day. When we are in our graves, our children will honor it. They will celebrate it with thanksgiving, with festivity, with bonfires and illumination. On its annual return, they will shed tears, copious gushing tears, not of subjection and slavery, not of agony and distress, but of exultation and gratitude and of joy. Sir, before God, I believe this hour is come. My judgment approves this measure, and my whole heart is in it. All that I have and all that I am and all that I hope in this life, and am now ready here to stake upon it, and I leave off as I begun, that live or die, survive or perish, I am for the Declaration. It is my living sentiment, and by the blessing of God, it shall be my dying sentiment. Independence now, and independence forever. Wow. How fitting we sing America the Beautiful. These patriots were willing to make the effort and sacrifice they did because they understood a fundamental that seems to be forgotten today, that the rights of man are either given as part of a divine plan or they are granted as part of the political plan. Reason and necessity and religious conviction and belief in the sovereignty of God led these men to accept the divine origin of man's rights. To God's glory and the credit of these men, our nation had its unique birth. Ladies and gentlemen, this is America. It is America. Lord Acton gave us this. It was from America that the plain ideas that men ought to mind their own business and that the nation is responsible to heaven for the acts of the state. Ideas long locked in the breasts of solidarity thinkers and hidden among Latin folios, burst forth like a conqueror upon the world. They were destined to transform under the title of the rights of man. And the principle gained ground that a nation can never abandon its fate to an authority it cannot control. Lord Acton. Ladies and gentlemen, America the Beautiful. I've kind of messed up. I got to go back up. Yeah, I've kind of ruined the music for a second, or the feeling. Battle Hymn of the Republic. Patriotism is more than flag waving and fireworks. It is how we respond to public issues. If we ask only, what is in this proposal for me? What do I get out of it? We are not patriotic and we are not very good citizens. But if we ask, is this right? Is it good for the American people? Would it preserve and strengthen our freedom? We deserve to stand in the company of Washington, Jefferson, and Lincoln. Patriotism is trying always to give more to the nation than we receive. It is selfless service. Ezra Taft Benson. If we truly cherish the heritage we have received, we must maintain the same virtues and character and of our stalwart forebears: faith in God, courage, industry, frugality, self-reliance, and integrity. We have the obligation to maintain what those who pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor gave to future generations. We, the people, this is our responsibility, our obligation to follow in the footsteps of our founding fathers. We can do this, ladies and gentlemen. It's challenging right now, but we, the people, can do this. We have the strength and the power within us to do this. And that, folks, is the Medlock Post radio show for today, February 16th, 2023. May God bless America.